Hey guys, good evening and welcome to the IRONMAN California course info, tips and tricks and Q&A. Got to tell you, I am super excited for this race, for this event. Shout out to all my friends that are racing out there in California. Really looking forward to seeing everyone out there as well as meeting lots of folks. This is a great event and really looking forward to both this evening and the information I have to share with you guys, as well as having the opportunity to be with you out there in Sacramento in just a short period of time. For those of you that don't know me, my name is John Mayfield. I am a full time triathlon coach. I am certified by USA Triathlon at level 2, as well as Ironman U. And I have had the privilege of coaching hundreds of athletes from first timers to professionals and everyone in between. I work exclusively with long course athletes. Long course racing is my passion. So, those racing 70.3 and Ironman distance events. Um, so that is also what I do as an athlete. I'm majority long course athlete these days, have been for more than a decade. So what I want to do here this evening is share some of my experience both as an athlete and a coach to help increase your confidence and reduce your stress as you head into race day, so that Ironman California can be a very special event for you, a memorable event, something that you enjoy, and you go out there and produce your best possible results out there on the race course. So, a couple tips before we get started. Stay hydrated. This is going to be a theme that we're going to be talking about throughout this entire evening. This is one of those things that often is underestimated and really is part of execution that can be messed up and really leads to lackluster performances. So that's what we want to avoid. We want to produce your best possible results, and hydration is really one of those things. We're gonna continue to talk about that throughout our time here, but it starts with showing up at the start line hydrated. So, my recommendation is in those days leading into the race, always have a water bottle with you, and not just plain water, but also water with electrolytes, because that's all part of the hydration strategy. If you're drinking just plain water, you're going to flush out all those electrolytes, which is going to be counterproductive. So, water and electrolytes. My personal go to in the days leading into the race is vitamin water. And I'll come back to that and explain a little bit why in a few minutes. But just in the days leading into the race, I have found that to be accessible at every race that I go to. I like it. It works for me, but find what works for you. But again, I'll revisit that here in just a couple of minutes. Limit time on your feet. Now, there are certain things that you're going to have to do. There's a certain amount of time that you're going to have to spend on your feet in the days leading into the race, but just be careful, be aware, be cognizant of it. You're going to have to go down to the race site. They intentionally kind of send you through the Ironman store and wind you through the village before you can get to the check-in area. You're going to have to go down and drop your bike the day before the race. So there's a certain amount of time that's going to have to be spent on your feet, but just manage it, limit it as you can, and then pair it with your recovery modalities. So whatever you've been doing to stay healthy and stay injury free leading into this race, continue those all the way through race day. So things like your static and dynamic stretching, your recovery boots, foam rollers, all those kinds of things. Stick with it, and be sure to pair those with the time spent on your feet. And certainly, by all means, get in those last couple sessions. Those sessions are important to get in. I'm not saying just sit on the couch for the last couple days, but just be cognizant of time spent on your feet and pair that with recovery. Something that's very important is to ensure that you are on site and checked in by Friday. The vast majority of athletes are aware of this, but I've been doing these webinars for years, and inevitably, I always get one or two questions at almost every race saying, "Oh, I thought I could check in the day before the race, just like every other 70.3 I've ever done." That is not the case with the Ironman events. So, for a Sunday race, you have to be checked in by Friday. There is no check in the day before the race. That's all about dropping off your bike and your gear bags the day before. So make sure that you are in Sacramento and able to get down there to the race site by the end of the day or whatever time that check in closes on Friday. From there, check out the course. There's not a whole lot to this course. It's not particularly a difficult course, technical course, anything like that. But what we don't want are any surprises on race day. So, in these days leading into the race, spend some time actually going and placing eyes on as much of the course as possible. Now, that's basically what we're going to be doing here for the next almost hour is talking about the course and different things. But it's important to take what I'm going to say and apply it to yourself. So I'm going to be speaking from my own experience, my own definitions, my own opinions. So go out and share those things up. It's a great idea to get in a practice swim. If you want to swim on the actual course, swim in the American River. So keep in mind that this swim course is actually the convergence of two rivers. It starts off in the American River, which is actually a smaller river that feeds into the larger. There's going to not be as much boat traffic, and that's the main risk. So that's why we want to stay in the American River. You can basically swim a mile in one direction. You can swim upstream, which is not a bad idea. This whole course is downstream, so fortunately, you're not going to have to be doing that on race day. But if you decide to get in a pre race open water swim on the course, limit your time, your space there to the American River section, and avoid that busier section where you're going to have boat traffic, commercial boats, that sort of thing. Obviously, it'll be closed on race day, but leading into the race, there'll still be boat traffic and higher risk down there. So stick to the American River, and then from there, go out and drive the bike course. It's a two-loop course, so it's only a 56-mile drive. It's not a full 112. You don't have to drive it twice, but just get a feel for what you're going to experience out there on race day. It's pretty much a straight out and back. Not There's no elevation change, not particularly any difficult turns or anything like that, but it's still good to go and see what you're in store for on race day. The aid stations will be marked with brightly colored duct tape, so you'll know exactly where those are. You can go out there and get a feel for things like wind and sun and all those kinds of things as well. And then check out the run course as well. Maybe this is hopping on your bike and just kind of taking a casual ride around downtown. Maybe it's running a section of the course just to get a feel for it. So again, go and see exactly what you're in store for on race day. Have a plan, and then let race day just be all about execution. Be sure to read the athlete guide. Even if you are a seasoned Ironman athlete, there are often one or two little nuggets in there that are a little bit different, a little unique to each race. So make sure that you're not caught off guard by something that's maybe a little different than what you've experienced in the past. So just do a quick overview of that. It doesn't take a whole long time to read that entire athlete guide, and be familiar with the schedule, the rules, all those kinds of things, how things work. Check that out. So, all right, little bonus here. We're gonna do a little bit of myth busting. So these are kind of three things that I have seen over the years that kind of I feel like they need to be remedied. So first is optimize your tire pressure. What we have seen over the last several years is a trend to wider wheels, wider tires, and in turn and in relation to that, lower tire pressure. So several years ago, it was a thought of if some is good, more is better. The higher the pressure in the tire, the less surface it's going to have with the road, which is going to mean less rolling resistance, which means you're going to be going faster. That has since changed as our equipment has changed. Most athletes now will have an optimal tire pressure under 100 psi, and for most, it's going to be somewhere give or take the 80 psi range. So that's considerably less than even the 100 psi that we were at a couple years ago, and then when we had tubular tires 10 years ago, and we were doing 120, 40, 160 psi in those. So you're going to be faster. You're going to have lower risk of a flat. So a great resource I would recommend checking out is the Silca tire pressure calculator. That's SILCA. Silka is a brand that makes bike accessories, and they have a great calculator that will really make a good recommendation for you. Um, Given your setup, your weight, all those kinds of things, wheel width, tire size, all that will be taken into consideration and give you an optimized tire pressure. So don't overinflate your tires on race day, and for that matter, don't underinflate. But what we see is most times athletes will overinflate their tires. Next one. This may get me in trouble. You may adamantly disagree. You may have been told 100 times that this is a absolute requirement, but don't deflate your tires overnight. So on Saturday, you're going to go down and drop your bike off at the transition area, and you're going to hear a lot of people letting air out of the tires. The thought is that there will be a temperature change overnight. Sure, there will be. And in that temperature change, that temperature change is going to change the pressure within the tire, which is going to cause it to pop and have a flat. That is a long-standing myth. So inevitably, you will hear some tires popping on race morning. There's going to be 3,000 bikes in there, and sure, a couple of those tubes are going to pop. But it's not because they didn't deflate their tires overnight. Most of those that you're going to hear popping probably changed the tubes and tires maybe the day before, and they've got a pinch flat. And maybe they overinflated the tires, but it's not because of a pressure change due to temperature change or humidity. There's just not that much air in a 700cc tire that is going to provide for that much change in pressure. If the temperature swing is so great that it's causing tires to pop, we've got much bigger problems to worry about. So if your tire is going to pop overnight, you want it to pop overnight because it's not going to if it does pop, there's something wrong. Again, you've got a pinch flat or a pinch in the tube, there's a defect in the tire, something is going wrong, something is going to happen, and it's going to be better for that to happen overnight than during the race. So go ahead and leave your tires inflated just like you do after every ride. Think about I live on the Texas Gulf Coast. It has been an extremely hot summer here. Most of our days have been in the triple digits. And yeah, I never deflated my tires. My bike was in my truck for hours. That was very, very hot, even hotter than the outside temperature. And then it would cool off when I would bring it in. My bike stays indoors. So it would go from the air conditioned temperature to triple digits plus sitting in my truck. So it was probably 120, 130 degrees in my truck. Never had any issues. We're not going to have anywhere near those type of temperature swings on race day. So don't deflate your tires overnight. And then the other, just kind of a thing, is just don't cover your saddle. There's really not a reason to. Most athletes are going to come through. They're going to be soaking wet and jump on that saddle, and it's going to get wet as soon as you start the bike. Even if you do a full change into dry clothes, it's made to be wet. There's not really a reason to cover your saddle, and really your bars for that matter as well. If there's one thing that you might want to consider covering, it would be your drivetrain, just to keep it clean and dry. But again, if you have a well-oiled drivetrain, as you should, it's going to hold up to the weather just fine anyway. So it's all about minimizing the amount of things that you have to worry about, things you're having to do. So those things just aren't productive. So don't do them. All right. On to the race and this legendary lightning fast swim. All right, so this may be the reason you selected Ironman California as your race. This is going to be a fantastic swim, both from a time and experience perspective. So, swim start. The water temperature will be announced officially in transition on race morning. It will also generally be posted in the days leading into the race. Pretty much all the races at check-in have that day's temperature reading, so you'll have a really good idea of what we're in store for on race day. So for last year's race, the official water temperature was 68 degrees. Back in 2021, the water temperature was taken. The race didn't happen, but the water temperature did. It was 64 degrees. So we are expecting something similar to that for this year, somewhere in the mid to upper 60s. So it is wetsuit legal up to and including 76.1 degrees. So there is a very high chance that it will be wetsuit legal. But the official water temperature will be announced in the days leading up to the race. And again, the official water temperature will be taken in the early hours of race morning. The shuttles run from 5 a.m. until 6:30. There are no spectators allowed on the shuttles this year. There is no place for the spectators at the swim start, so that shuttle is just for the athletes. That's going to run from 5 a.m. until 6:30. The race starts at 7 a.m. It is a self-seated rolling start, which means you will line up according to your expected swim time. Now, as we've already established, this is going to be a fast swim. It's going to be current assisted. So we don't know exactly what that is. So when you are lining up, it is according to your normal unassisted Ironman 2.4 mile swim, or what would you swim that distance perhaps in the pool. So don't take the current into consideration. If you're usually a 110 swimmer and you plan to swim 50 minutes, still go ahead and line up with that 110 group. Don't line up with the 50. So it's what is your normal unassisted time. And there are, I believe it's 10-minute windows. It could be as short as 5, but I think it's 10 minutes at the Ironman distance. So you'll have these corrals set up. And there'll be signs, volunteers with signs. I believe the first one is under 60 minutes, and then you have basically an hour to an hour 10, hour 10 to hour 20, all the way back to 2 hours plus. So you will line up in that queue according to your expected time, and then as you can see here in the picture, they will have several athletes going every few seconds. So it's a time trial start with a couple athletes going every few seconds, and getting everyone filed in there. It is a beach entrance, so as you can see from the picture, it's kind of a sandy little area. You're able to wade in and kind of get going at your own pace, and then it is a ramp exit. So you'll be swimming to that ramp 2.4 miles downstream. Couple tips for the swim start. Create a wetsuit plan. Now, a lot of times this wetsuit plan will be if I'm going to wear a wetsuit or not, depending on the water temperature. But as we've already established, it's really looking like this will be a wetsuit swim. Chances are that water temperature is going to be somewhere in the mid to upper 60s. So I would say that's pretty cool to cold, even kind of depending on your experience. And this is where I'm speaking from my own experience, my own definitions. For me, living on the Texas Gulf Coast, that's pretty cold water. But for some of y'all, that may just be your sweet spot. So, what does that mean for you? Are you going to wear a sleeved suit, a sleeveless suit? Have that plan, and then just again, race day is all about simple execution. Catch an early shuttle. So this is a pretty early start to the day. Remember, those shuttles run until 6:30. You have to get down to the race site. Do what you need to do. Drop off your personal needs bags. If you're going to be visiting your gear bags, you need time for that. My recommendation in everything involved in this race is to do it early. So even taking a little step back, travel early, get to the airport early, check in early, all of these things. Drop your bike off the day before early. Get everything done early. It's like an insurance policy just in case anything happens, anything unexpected out of the blue. Go ahead and get it done as early as possible. And that includes getting on that shuttle so that you can get down there to the swim start and get queued up where you need to be. So those corrals do get crowded, and it can be very difficult later on to get where you want to be. You're going to have to excuse yourself through hundreds of people, which no one wants to do, and it's just kind of a courtesy thing. So get down there early, get queued up, and be sure to take some hydration nutrition with you. So again, we want to make sure that everything is topped off when that cannon fires and you hit the water. It's a good idea to take a bottle with you as you're riding the shuttle down, spending that time down there at the swim start. Again, it's probably just sipping on some electrolyte drink, maybe some calories, just to top everything off and get you good to go. So far as that goes, don't cue slower than expected. So this is something I see oftentimes. Either athletes are a little apprehensive, so they're probably a 130 swimmer, but maybe they're going to go 145, 150 just in case. Or maybe they're a 130 swimmer and their training partner, best friend, is a 2 hour swimmer, so they hang back. That causes problems for everyone. It's just going to increase the amount of people you're swimming over, or the amount of people swimming over you. It's going to increase the amount of contact you have with the other swimmers. So with this, especially being the point to point with the current, there's plenty of room to spread out. This can be a really nice, friendly swim where everyone just sets a swim PR and no one gets their goggles knocked off or kicked in the face. So don't cue slower than expected. And part of that is getting down there early so that you can get to that location that you want. Because again, the closer we get to 7 o'clock, the more and more congested those corrals are going to get. It's going to be more difficult to find your way to that area. So get down there early and then cue according to your expected swim. Now, this is one of my favorite tips. My good buddy Jeff Rains told me this years ago, and I've used it ever since. So credit to him, especially if you are concerned about this water being cold. Again, everyone has a different definition. Some of you are just in your happy place at 65, 68 degrees. Others, this is really cold, and you're thinking about blue lips and hypothermia and that sort of thing. Something you can do to help mitigate the cold, especially early in the swim, and especially if you are prone to panic when you're starting an open water swim, is to prime your wetsuit. Yes, everyone is going to pee in their wetsuit as you're headed down there to the swim start, and that's going to take care of the bottom half. But the way that wetsuit works is by warming the water that is between your body and the neoprene. It's a wetsuit. It is not a dry suit. It is made to have water inside of it. It is a very small, thin layer of water that your body is going to heat, and then that neoprene suit is going to retain that heat. So what you can do, instead of having the first water to hit that suit be that, say, 66-degree water, your body then in turn has to heat it, which is going to draw heat out of your body. Prime your wetsuit prior. So just take a pretty big water bottle with you down there to the start. It doesn't need to be hot or anything. Just room temperature is completely fine. It's going to feel cold, most likely. And then just a couple minutes before the race starts, pour a whole bunch of water down the neck of your suit. What that's going to do is go ahead and get that space between your body and the wetsuit occupied, and provide the opportunity. One, it's going to be warmer than 66-degree water that you're pouring in there, and your body will have more time to go ahead and get that water warmed up. So when you hit the water, it's going to be warm. You're not going to have that cold rush so much hitting your body. You're not going to feel cold at the beginning of the swim. So if you're worried about the cold, if you're prone to panic attacks, especially in cold water, that is a great tip that can really help mitigate some of that. And then from there, great thing about this beach entrance is you're not just jumping into 20 feet deep of water where you're going to go underwater. You can go in at your own time, your own pace. So settle in, do some sink down, splash that cold water on your face. A lot of times that fight or flight is triggered when our face hits that cold water. So again, if you're prone to that, as you're wading in knee deep, just grab some of that cold water and splash it on your face. Take your time, taking a few seconds, maybe even a few minutes at the very beginning of the swim to get settled in and get comfortable is going to be more beneficial than trying to get out too quick, having that panic attack, and then having to deal with that for the rest of your swim. All right, so the swim is a point to point. It is fully protected. It is, as mentioned before, convergence of two rivers. So starting off in the American River, it's not all that wide, so it's basically all benefit. We're not really worried about really even surface chop, just because of the way it is set up. It should just be flowing with you, pushing you all the way from that start line to the finish line. So no swells, no waves, anything like that. So it is shallow to start. As we mentioned, it's a walk-in beach entrance. Be cognizant of that. This is an active natural river, so don't stand up because we don't know what you're going to be standing up on. Last thing you want to do in the first couple hundred yards of the swim is cut your foot, break a toe, anything like that, because you stumbled upon something in that shallow section of the water. So just let that wetsuit carry you all the way, and just ride that current. The American River is 1.3 miles. So basically, that's kind of around the just over halfway, and so you'll kind of make that turn. So just as a point of reference, just know that once you're making kind of that left turn, exiting the American River, you're 1.3 miles in. So you've got just a little bit less than that to go, 1.1 miles approximately to the finish once you have made that turn. It is a tree lined course, so again, not worried about wind, and really even sun is less of a factor in this race. With sunrise to the east, when you're in that first section of the American River, the sunrise is going to be to your rear, so not really a big issue. And then even then, once you make the turn to the south, so now that sunrise is going to be over your left shoulder, there's a decent amount of stuff, I guess, on that bank. So the sun is not going to be a huge factor on this. So because of that, couple tips for the swim course: consider lighter goggles. They're just going to allow you to see the buoys and your sight line that much better. So this is not necessarily one of those events where you're going to need the mirrored, really dark goggles because you're swimming directly into the sunrise, and that's really going to affect your sighting. If you are a predominantly left breather, you may get some of that sunrise on your left side on the that last 1.1 mile section, but not a major issue here. So this is one where you can kind of favor a lighter goggle just to make your sighting that much easier. Like everything in long course racing, my recommendation is to break the course into segments. So, this day is not about completing 140.6 miles. This race is about completing the next segment, the next section. So, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So, again, we're not thinking about 140.6 miles. That's just daunting. We're not even thinking about 2.4 miles because that's a really long way to swim, even with the current assisting you. So it's breaking it down into small, manageable, bite-sized segments. So this may be thinking about the two sections of the river, which again is approximately halfway. So just make it to the merging into the second half. Maybe it's even just buoy to buoy. So manage that. Celebrate the little victories that you will have just swimming from buoy to buoy to buoy. Each one is about 100 meters apart. So every couple minutes, you're getting a little micro win when you reach that, and just keep swinging from buoy to buoy until you're headed to that swim exit. Long, powerful strokes are going to be your best friend here in this race. That current that is going to be basically 100% helping you, assisting you. You're not having to swim across it or against it, which is great. So really, you don't really need to make any modifications to your swim stroke. And this is really one of those cases where having that lower turnover rate, that's just a powerful stroke, is going to be beneficial. So you can lower your stroke count, which is going to reduce your energy expenditure. So just kind of take it easy on this one. It's going to be a PR. It's going to be your fastest swim ever, maybe unless you did this race last year. So you really don't need to go out and work really, really hard on the swim. As the old saying goes, you're not going to win it on the swim, especially when you have this great assistance from the current. So long, powerful strokes. If you're one that has that real high turnover, maybe just think about slowing it down a little bit. You're going to come out with a lower heart rate. You're going to come out having burned fewer calories, which is going to be beneficial for you for the rest of the day. If there were a segment where you were having to swim against the current or across the current, obviously the conversation would be different. But since this is a fully assisted course, long, powerful strokes the way to go. Side often, even though this is a relatively narrow body of water. We still want to swim 2.4 miles and nothing more. This is going to be a fast swim, but we want it to be as fast as possible. So we don't want to swim any extra yards. So swimming straight is the best way to ensure that. Swim to the pylons at the end. They'll be very recognizable. They're these metallic metal pylons that are there marking the exit, and then swim all the way until your hand touches. So there will be volunteers that are helping you out of the water. Keep riding that current all the way to the end. All right, new transition location this year. Last year, the transition was actually set up inside the baseball stadium. This year, it's going to be a parking lot outside, so much shorter transition. Last year, I think it was about a 3/4 of a mile run from the swim exit to the transition area, so much shorter. So your transition time automatically already got much faster. So you can see even in the image here where you'll come out, run up the ramp, and then under the bridge to the transition area. Once you arrive there, you will retrieve your bike gear bag. So the day before the race, you will drop off your bike and run gear bags. These gear bags are going to have everything in them that you need for the bike and run legs. So this is a what is referred to as a clean transition. So the only thing at the bike racks is your bike. Nothing on the ground, nothing loose on the bike. So everything else is going to go in these gear bags. The one thing that you absolutely have to have in your bike gear bag is a helmet, because you have to wear a helmet on the bike, and that helmet cannot be on your bike. So it has to be in there. From there, most athletes are going to have cycling shoes. Some will elect to do a full change into a dry cycling kit or a triathlon kit. From there, it really varies athlete to athlete. Sunglasses, nutrition, whatever the case may be, whatever you've practiced with, whatever you've dialed in, that's going to go in that bike gear bag. You're going to retrieve that. You're going to head into the change tent. You will transition in there. You will then repack that bag with your swim gear. So your wetsuit, your goggles, swim cap, all of that will be repacked into that bike gear bag. You will drop that in the designated area on your way out, proceed to the bike racks, and then mount at the mount line. Couple tips for T1: mark your bag. So this is a big race. There are going to be a lot of athletes, and there are going to be 3,000 bags that look exactly like yours. The only thing that is going to distinguish your bag from the thousands of others that look exactly like it is a little decal that they're going to give you at check-in. Now, this bag is going to be dropped the day before. It's going to be sitting outdoors, exposed to whatever the Northern California weather decides to throw at it. Hopefully not a bomb cyclone, but you just never know. It could rain, it could be humid, it could be windy even. Too many times I have seen these decals come off. So now there's nothing to distinguish your bag from the thousands of others that look exactly like it. So my go-to tried and true tip is to get some sort of novelty duct tape. Go down to Walgreens, Walmart, Amazon. They have bright colors. They've got unicorns and rainbows and sports teams and all those kinds of things. So just as you're packing that bag, first thing I will do is write my number all over it. I write it in the little box that says affix sticker here. So if that sticker does come off, my number is still in that location. And then I just kind of go crazy and write the number all over. I will then tear off 12 to 18 inches of that duct tape and just post that all over the bag. So it's very recognizable to me. So when I'm coming through there, I'm looking for my bag. It's going to stand out. It's going to be real easy to distinguish my bag from the thousands of others that look exactly like it. Know your locations. So know where your bags are. That's also going to help in reducing the amount of time in transition and the confusion of finding your bag. Now, your bag is going to stand out because you've got your number written obnoxiously all over it and you got duct tape all over it. But it's still important to know which row that you're on, where your bags are. Now, one thing to note is oftentimes those bags do get moved a little bit overnight, especially if you follow my advice and you're one of the early ones. If you're down there early, there's like 0% chance your bag is going to be where you dropped it by the end of the day. And that's just because there are a whole lot of bags that have to get kind of squeezed into between those sandwich board markers that have it. So it's not going to move far, but it's going to move a little bit. Again, the duct tape and your number is going to make it real easy to find. Generally, you will have access to those bags on race morning, so maybe just go down there and check everything out, make sure everything is still good to go. But know where your bags are, know where your bike is. If you go down the wrong row, it may take you a while to figure that out. And then, again, you got to race 140.6 miles. No need to run extra in transition. From there, be efficient, pack minimally, practice in advance. Know what your transition is. Reduce the amount of things that you have to do that aren't necessary, aren't productive, and don't put anything in those gear bags that isn't necessary. So they're relatively small, especially once you put your helmet and your cycling shoes in there. There's not a ton of room for a bunch of other stuff in there. The more stuff you have in that bag, the more stuff you have to remember, the more time you're going to spend. So be efficient. Pack minimally, practice these transitions in advance. So oftentimes, even experienced athletes will know what their transition protocol is for a normal transition where you're running up and you've got all your gear either on the bike or on the ground next to it. But have you practiced an Ironman transition where you're going to have that gear bag? You're going to be sitting in a change tent. Know exactly what those things are. Do those things. Be efficient in that. And then another great tip I can't take credit for, this one comes from my friends at Precision Fuel and Hydration, is consider a go bottle. We've talked about, and we will continue to talk about, how important it is to stay hydrated and stay up on our nutrition and our electrolytes. So a go bottle, for me in T1, this is where my vitamin water comes back in. One reason I like the vitamin water is they have these bottles with the really big mouth on them, which makes it very easy to drink quickly from. So I will save 2 of those vitamin water bottles. And as I am preparing my gear on a race morning, I will take these 2 bottles down there. I will pack one in my bike gear bag, one in my run gear bag. So this T1 bottle, go bottle, I will put about 6 to 8 ounces of water in it. I will do a serving of my nutrition. I will do a serving of my electrolytes in there. And as I am going through and doing all those things in the change tent, I'm going to grab that bottle very quickly. I'm going to chug those 6 to 8 ounces of water. And this is just going to make up for the past whatever time it is. And this one, it's going to be fast, probably 45 minutes to an hour and a half out there on the swim course where we were losing hydration and burning calories, burning electrolytes, but not taking anything in. So this is just going to jumpstart our protocol and help us stay up on it. So go bottle there in T1 before heading out onto the bike course. So you probably heard some things about the bike, especially last year. Maybe you did it. Maybe you heard about it. It was windy, out and back course. So it's 28 miles each way. And as you can see from this picture here, there's not a whole lot to break up that wind. So you are definitely out there exposed. It is a 2-loop out and back. It is open to traffic, but that traffic is generally light. The course is well marked, so don't foresee any issues with vehicles, but just know that this is not an entirely closed course, so continue to be careful if you're changing lanes or anything like that, especially if you're completing a pass, something like that. Just know that there could be vehicles. Be vigilant, and as always, keep your head on a swivel. Fairly good road conditions. So obviously they're not perfect, but pretty good road conditions. And as mentioned, it's pancake flat. That is not the factor that is of concern on this course. More so, as mentioned, it is exposed to sun and wind. So these are the factors that could come into play. Obviously, 2 years ago when the bomb cyclone came through and canceled the race, this course was very windy, so windy that it was not safe to complete the race. And even last year, it was a beautiful bluebird day. However, it was quite windy. So just be aware that the course is exposed. And again, it's an out and back. So if whatever that wind is blowing, it's going to get it both ways. So, a couple tips for this bike course: settle into the loop and build throughout. So, this is really something that is critical in proper race execution. Is not going out too hard too soon. Your chances are you're having a little bit of an elevated heart rate from the swim, from transition, getting all through. The excitement is still there. So don't overdo it. And who knows, you may have a really nice tailwind to start, which you're going to have to kind of pay for later on. So settle in those first couple miles, let your heart rate calm down to where it needs to be for your race plan. You know your power, you know your heart rate. Be patient and build throughout. And then there's going to be what I refer to as the rule of reciprocity. So if there is a wind blowing in whatever direction, chances are there's going to be some wind. It's just more so of a question of which direction and how high is that wind going to be. Now, I'm going to knock on wood, and I'm hoping I'm not cursing anyone, but so far the forecast is calling for relatively calm winds. So hopefully this is not the issue that it was last year, but I would say it's going to be prudent to expect wind. But that rule of reciprocity, I mean, I can't talk here this evening, um, it's just same as last year. Sure, one way it was quite difficult. It was quite slow. But the other way is smoking fast, and the other way is much easier. So if the wind is blowing out of the north and you've got a tailwind to start, be aware of that. Just know that if you're riding 3, 4, 5+ miles an hour faster than you normally do, you've got a tailwind that's helping you. That's kind of a lot of times we don't always know, we don't always feel the tailwind. We definitely feel a headwind or a side wind, but sometimes it's probably not that you're just feeling amazing and all of a sudden you're riding 4 miles an hour faster than you normally do. If that's the case, you've probably got a pretty good tailwind pushing you along. So just know that you're going to have to pay for that. And vice versa. If you're coming out and winds out of the south and it's really hard for those first 28 miles, just know that you're going to get a reprieve when you make that turnaround. And then it's 2 loops, so you're going to be doing it twice. Um, Remember to stretch. This is a great course to spend 99% of the time in the arrow position. So you are in your best position to fight any of those winds that may be coming. But keep in mind that your back, your neck, your shoulders can all get very tired, very fatigued if you stay in that position for 5, 6, 7 hours at a time. So take some opportunities to stretch out the back and sit up occasionally, especially at these turns. This race is not going to be won or lost by how quickly you make these few turns. So just sit up a little bit, stretch. Same thing as you're going through the aid stations. Allow those to be an opportunity to get some stretching in, and then back into the arrow position for as much of the race as you can. Here we go again. Stay ahead of hydration and nutrition. Now, chances are you are not going to know if you are staying ahead of hydration and nutrition on the bike while on the bike. These are all things that are going to manifest when you get out there onto the run. So, long course racing execution is all about setting yourself up for the back half of the run. It doesn't matter if you have a fantastic bike split. It doesn't matter if you have an amazing first half marathon. It really all comes back to how well are you able to execute on the back half of that marathon. So that's when you're going to know if you executed properly on your nutrition and your hydration, and then getting into also your cooling protocols. Now, this is a relatively cool race. It's not a hot race, but I will say, according to the 10-day forecast or how far out we are, it is looking like the high for the day is going to be somewhere in the low to mid 80s. So still pretty warm. Think about, you have been exercising at this point for 6, 7, 8 hours. You've been generating body heat throughout that. Now, as you're going out onto that run course, you're going to be at the hottest part of the day. Chances are it's going to be upper 70s, low 80s, maybe even mid 80s. That is hot enough to cause problems. So, just like staying up on your hydration and your nutrition, it is critical that you maintain a cool core temperature. So, these are the things that we see missed on execution most often: overheating, underhydrating, undernutrition, under electrolytes. So those 4 things, make sure that you are not falling victim to those. So my recommendation to stay cool is to take Part of this is staying up on your hydration protocol as well as your electrolytes. But my tip here is to take a cold water bottle from every aid station. If you are using that Gatorade Endurance for your nutrition, take a cold one at every aid station. Even if you have half a bottle left from the last one, that one's no longer going to be cold. Throw it out. Grab a fresh one. That cold Gatorade is going to be more palatable, so you're more likely to drink it. And taking in those cold fluids, whether it be the Gatorade or water, is going to help maintain your core temperature. So we're going to look to cool that core temperature internally by drinking cold fluids. So every opportunity that you have going through these aid stations, take a cold Gatorade or a cold water, depending on what you're doing. Now, I like the water because I can then work on cooling my body from the exterior, from the outside. So what I will do is first thing I go through, the first thing that is offered at these aid stations is water. My hope is that I can grab water from a volunteer very early on. It's water, Gatorade, food, Gatorade, water. So I'm taking a water bottle from that first volunteer, second volunteer, and I'm going to take a pull on it. I'm going to chug some water down, again, cooling my core temperature from the inside. And then I'm going to spray my face, my body, my kit, get as much of my body wet as I can with that cold water, so I can work on both controlling my core temperature internally and externally. I will then either store that bottle away for use between there and the next section, or I'll toss it in the designated area. But looking to stay cool on there. Towards the end of the bike, make sure that you are starting to prep for T2 and the run. So my rule of thumb is I do not take in anything in the last 20 minutes. So for me, that's approximately the last 7 or 8 miles, so around mile 105 or so. I will make sure at that point that I'm up to plan on my nutrition and my hydration. That is kind of my last call for the bike. So if I'm behind, if I need to take in a few more ounces of water, a little bit more nutrition, that is when I'm going to do it. Around mile 105, around 20 minutes out from transition. What I want to happen in those 20 minutes is for my stomach to empty. What I don't want to do is start the run with a stomach full of water that's gonna feel bloated and slosh around and just not be conducive to me running a fast marathon. So mile 105, 20 minutes out, I stop taking in any fluids. The other thing I'm going to do is I am going to increase my cadence slightly. Now, I'm going to increase my cadence slightly because my Ironman cadence is around 80 RPM. When I come out of transition and start the run, I want to have a run cadence closer to 90 RPM, 90 steps per minute, or 180 if you're counting every. So, what I'm going to do in those last couple minutes is basically tell my brain, this is what I want you to tell the legs to do. I want to turn over at a rate of 90 per minute. So when I start spinning my pedals at 90, now that communication between my brain and my legs is saying, okay, this is what it feels like. So when I come out of T2, I'm naturally going to settle in quite quickly to that 90 step per minute cadence. All right, into T2. Pretty similar to T1. You'll go through, retrieve your run gear bag. It's going to be super easy to find because you've got your number written all over it. You've got that duct tape, and you checked on race morning to know exactly where it is. You'll go through, grab that bag, head into the change tent, transition as needed, repack the bike gear bag with everything not going with you out on the marathon course. So your helmet, whatever else isn't going with you, repack in that bag, drop it on the way out, proceed to the run course. Couple tips for T2. They intentionally look exactly like the tips for T1. Be efficient, pack minimally, practice in advance, and consider a go bottle. So the one difference here is instead of 6 to 8 ounces that I have in T1, I will do more of 12 ounces, give or take. One, it's because I haven't taken anything in the last 20 minutes, so my stomach is empty and it is now ready to take on that larger amount. And two, if I don't feel like taking in that full amount, I can now very easily take that bottle with me. It's harder to carry that bottle. My cages are already filled with other bottles on the bike, so it's kind of hard to take with me. Not the case for T2. So if I'm not ready to take in that full 12 ounces, I can take it with me. I can nurse it over the first 100 yards, half mile, mile, whatever the case may be, and then I'll just ditch that bottle and then convert over to my normal nutrition protocol. All right, we will head out on to the run. Neat run course, quite interesting. It is what I'm going to refer to as a 2.5 loop course. A little bit different than last year. A lot of similarities, but not exactly the same. So it is a mix of road and paved path. So really good conditions there. During the daylight hours, it's going to be a mix of sun and shade. Like the bike course, it's pancake flat. Other than just a couple sections here and there, it's flat. Personal needs is available at the start of the second loop. So again, being 2.5 loops, that's not quite halfway. It's around mile 12. You'll be starting that second loop. So the way this course works is you can see there the start line is there at the ballpark. The initial stretch is, I think it's a little over a mile out and back. You'll then head back to the baseball park, up the river trail, up to the section up west of the river, head back down, cross over the river, then head up to the north, do an out and back section there. And then that is actually the end of the loop. So once you come back to the bridge, you will cross back over and then repeat that. So back to the ballpark, back to the south, back to the north, back down to the bridge, cross over the bridge, head back to the north. And then instead of heading back across the river at the end, that is actually the end of your second loop, where you'll head down to the south. Again, this is still on the east side of the river now. Little section out and back on the east side, back up, and then through those downtown streets. And this one, the way they have this configured, it better be 26.2 miles exactly, because there's just a little bitty out and back there, like at mile 25. And then even as you enter into the capital area, there's a little out and back that is parallel to the finish line. So it's almost like you're going to get to finish your practice your finish right before you do, because you're going to basically run right by the finish line right there. So that is going to be super exciting. So it's really going to extend what is really the best part of this day. So again, go out and run part of this, ride your bike, see exactly what you're in store for on race day. Couple tips for the run course. Like everything else, break the course into sections. The fact that it's 2.5 loops makes it real easy. The fact that you have so many of these out and backs makes it even easier. So I would say, especially on as you're hopefully you're going to go and see it, so you know what you're in store for. But it's going to be a little bit different on race day. You're going to find out where not only where those aid stations are, but every aid station kind of has a little bit of a vibe. You're going to learn that. You're going to find out where your support crew is. You're going to find out where the crowded sections of the course are, where the sparse sections are. So really kind of take note on that first lap, and then use that to your advantage on the second lap. Now, oh yeah, I'm coming up on that aid station where they're super fun and there's a great crew, or I'm coming up on the aid station that has a bunch of kids that are volunteering there, and I'm going to give them all the high fives. So take that knowledge and use it to your advantage, and just focus again, not so much on running a marathon. If you think about running a marathon coming out at a T2, that's just going to be a daunting thought. It's more so about what is this next section. So just know that this is really advantageous as you come out of the ballpark, as you head down there to the south. That first U-turn is I think it's only about a mile. So just run the mile. And then once you do that, just run back to the ballpark and then head up to the north. So it's all about breaking the course into manageable sections. And that's really going to set yourself up for success. And then when you do it the second time, now you really know what you're in store for. Just like the bike, make sure that you are starting easy and building throughout. As mentioned, execution is all about that second loop and a half. So make sure that you are not overdoing it early on. You've been riding at that higher cadence, or whatever cadence that you're running at. You've matched that, so your brain knows what to do. Your legs know what to do, and you may come out of T2 just floating. And that's common and that's super fun, but it's also a little bit of a lie. You may not really be feeling that great. And unfortunately, that doesn't always last for the entire duration of that 26-mile run. So a lot of times coming out of T2, it's about holding back. Say, yeah, I feel really good. I'm running this pace that's very easy. But if that's not the pace that you've been training at, if that's not the pace that was your execution plan, don't don't do it. Stick to your plan, even if it feels like you're just really holding back. If you complete that first loop and you're still feeling like you're really holding back, let them go. But for the most part, that's a bit of a misnomer. So for the last time, I'm going to remind you to stay hydrated and stay cool. And again, this is when you're going to find out how well you have executed your pacing, your nutrition, your hydration, and your cooling protocols. Those four things are absolutely critical. They are going to manifest here on the run course, so you'll know how well you did. The vast majority of athletes that underperform is not because they undertrained. It's not because they weren't fit enough or they didn't have the stamina, they didn't have the endurance. It's because they have not executed well. And those four things are the most important things when it comes to execution: your pacing, nutrition, hydration, and cooling. So make sure that you are taking care of those. Rule of thumb: take something from every aid station. One, you paid a whole bunch of money to be in this race, so you might as well get your money's worth. But chances are you can benefit from something at every aid station. These aid stations are approximately every mile. So, again, chances are you're going to need some calories, some hydration, um, or maybe it's just something to cool your body from the outside. So in those warmer afternoon hours when the sun is high, maybe it's ice down the shorts, maybe it's cold water over your head. Whatever it is, at every aid station, make sure that you're taking something. And then use personal needs strategically. So again, about mile 12, you're going to have an opportunity to access your personal needs bag. What do you need at that point? Think about what are the things that you have wanted or needed at mile 12 of your long runs. What is the weather doing? Are you going to be out there after dark when the temperature begins to drop? Do you need a long sleeve shirt? Do you need a headlamp? Something like that. So make sure that you're taking those things into consideration when planning your personal needs bag. All right, on to the finish. This is what it's all about, folks. This is the magic. This is what makes all of the training, all of the time, all of the investment worth it. This is what is going to bring you back again and again. I am a 10-time Ironman finisher, and I cannot wait to experience this for the 11th time. It's that magical. So this is what it's all about. So don't miss it. If you hear nothing else that I say here this evening, hear me on this. So as you're approaching that finish line, and again, the way there's that little out and back that's right there by the finish line, it's almost like you get to do this twice. You should be getting chills and goosebumps, and the tears should start rolling whenever you're making your way around that section of the Capitol. Know that you're close. Really be present and take it all in. Plan your finish. What does your finish look like? You've probably been thinking about it, but if you haven't, plan your finish. Know what your finish looks like. Find some space. You've been out there all day operating under your own power. So make sure that you get to enjoy your finish line by yourself. So if you're coming in with a crowd, maybe just hang back a little bit and let them go, let them have their time, and then enjoy your time there on the red carpet. Now, if you made a best friend at mile 2 and you guys have been running together for the last 24 miles, by all means, celebrate that finish line together. And for me, it's all the high fives. There's going to be your support crew, your loved ones, complete strangers, kids with hands out. I will say there's nothing more fun than running onto that red carpet, giving all the high fives to those random strangers, and then take it all in. Be present, listen for your name to be called, listen for your hometown, listen to be declared an Ironman. That is what is going to bring you back again and again and again. So make sure that you really, really, really enjoy that finish line. So All right, man, I'm excited. That gets me pumped up. And that is what I've got. So this is where I would normally go over all of the questions, but we are up against our time. And as tapering triathletes, I certainly don't want to keep you guys up past your bedtime. So what I'm going to do is any questions that have been submitted over the past hour, I will respond to those via email in the next couple of days. If you have any questions that you have not yet submitted, you can send those over to me. My email address is john@tribetriathlon.net. Feel free to reach out. Again, I want to help you in any way that I can. I want you to have an amazing experience. I want you to produce your best results. I want this to be a special, special event for you. So please let me know if there's anything I can do, any questions that you have, anything that I can do to help. So again, I really look forward to seeing everyone out in California here in just a couple of days. I hope you have a wonderful last week or so of closing out these taper sessions. Safe travels. And again, I can't wait to see everyone out in Sacramento. Go be an Ironman.